Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. We have another great show for you today. First, the actor-director Timothy Busfield, well, his life is crashing down and he remains in custody. The au pair trial continues and it's getting a little spicy. Luigi Mangoni's federal case is picking up some speed. Federal authorities have initiated an inquiry into the long controversial death of Ellen Greenberg, who died back in 2011 with multiple stab wounds in her back, and they ruled it a suicide. Shocking. Anyway, tragic outcome in a custody dispute. Another Mother of the Year contestant. We've got this day in legal history, our quote of the day regarding our right to counsel, and another dumb criminal. And wait for it. It's that time of the month again, ladies and gentlemen. Our battle box has arrived. I can hardly wait to open it.
All right, lawyer.
Good day, everyone. My name is Scott Reisch, and this is Crime Talk. Thanks for joining us. You know the drill. Subscribe if you haven't, like if you do, leave me a comment below, hit that little bell for notifications. And yes, you can check us out on any of your favorite podcasting apps. All right. Let me remind you, go to crimetalksearch.com and sign up today for that background subscription service. When you do, you'll be able to do as many background searches as you desire. So, if you're at home and you are investigating cases and you want to know about everybody involved in the case, go check them out. Find that little piece of information that nobody else knows about. You're going to get a background report sent to you literally as you wait. It's going to have social media presence, emails, telephone numbers. You're going to find out if somebody has a criminal history, married, divorced. Are they on one of those sex offender registries? Yes. Go check them out, ladies and gentlemen. CrimeTalkSearch.com. You're going to be happy that you did. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and open the record for Thursday, January 15th, 2026. And first on the docket, actor-director Timothy Busfield. Yep, life is crashing down as he knows it, and he remains in custody. So the Emmy award-winning actor and director Timothy Busfield has surrendered to police in New Mexico and is currently detained without bond on felony charges related to alleged child sexual abuse. Now, the case has drawn significant attention due to Busfield's prominent career, including roles in The West Wing, 30-something, and Field of Dreams, as well as his work as a director and executive producer. Now, Busfield is 68 years old, ladies and gentlemen, and he is now facing 2 counts of criminal sexual contact of a minor and 1 count of child abuse. Now, these charges stem from allegations involving twin boys who appeared as child actors on the Fox series The Cleaning Lady, which was filmed in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Now, the incidents are alleged to have occurred between November 22nd and spring of 2024. Now, during Busfield's tenure directing episodes of the show, that's when these allegedly took place. And according to the court records, one of the boys reported inappropriate touching on private areas over clothing on multiple occasions when he was 7 and then 8 years old. The second boy alleges touching, though specifics were less detailed as far as what we know right now. Both children reportedly feared reporting the incidents due to Busfield's authority, obviously as the director. The matter came to light after a referral from staff at the University of New Mexico's hospital back in November of 2024, which prompted the investigation by the police. Now, the boy's mother later reported disclosures to Child Protective Services back in October of 2025. Now, prosecutors have described a broader pattern of alleged misconduct spanning decades, citing Busfield's position of authority and behaviors interpreted as grooming. And in a recent court filing seeking continued detention, the prosecutors referenced a separate allegation involving a 16-year-old girl at the B Street Theater in Sacramento, California, founded by Busfield, where he is accused of kissing her and touching her intimately during an audition several years ago. In that instance, Busfield allegedly urged the family not to report the matter if he sought therapy. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what you refer to as kind of a statement against interest, would you say? Anyway, no charges have been filed in connection with that claim. Now, earlier reports also note that private settlements have taken place in the 1990s involving a 17-year-old extra on the film Little Big League. Now, an arrest warrant was issued last week in New Mexico, leading to Busfield being classified as a fugitive for several days. Well, he drove approximately 2,000 miles from his home in High Lake, New York, to Albuquerque to surrender on Tuesday, January 13th, as he was prohibited from air travel due to the warrant. Now, shortly after his surrender, United States Marshals conducted a raid on his New York residence, though he had already been processed into custody. Now, Busfield appeared remotely in court on Wednesday from jail, where a judge denied bond pending a detention hearing within the next 5 business days. Now, Busfield has strongly denied all of the allegations, describing in a pre-surrender video as nothing more than lies and asserting his innocence. His civil attorney, a guy by the name of Larry Stein, has characterized the claim involved the twins as a calculated effort motivated by revenge after one of the children was not invited back to the show following their aging out of the role. Now, Stein noted that an independent investigation by Warner Brothers Television found no corroborating evidence of the misconduct or instances of Busfield being alone with the children. He further stated that the Busfield passed an independent polygraph examination regarding these allegations. So as of today, Busfield remains in custody at the detention center there in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And following his initial court appearance, the judge ordered he be held without bond pending that further detention hearing. Now, during his brief remote appearance from jail, during which Busfield appeared in an orange jumpsuit and did not enter a plea, the judge addressed the prosecutor's expedited motion for pretrial detention. The motion seeks to demonstrate by clear and convincing evidence, which is less than proof beyond a reasonable doubt, but greater than preponderance of the evidence or probable cause, that no condition of release would adequately protect the public safety or the community, citing the nature of the felony charges and an alleged pattern of misconduct. Now, the judge approved the temporary denial of bond, stating that Busfield would continue to be held without bond until the district court conducts a full detention hearing. Now, this hearing is required to occur within the next 5 business days from January 14th, meaning that it's expected not later than January 22nd, according to the weekends and the court scheduling. And at the proceedings, the judge will determine whether Busfield may be released on a bond with conditions or if pretrial detention will continue. Now, a preliminary hearing on the charges themselves remains scheduled for January 29th. Obviously, Busfield is presumed innocent until proven guilty, and no additional developments regarding his relief have been reported as of the date of this filming. I would find it hard to believe that a judge would not grant bond with conditions for Mr. Busfield. One, given his age, his stature in the community, the fact that he has, well, we know, no criminal history whatsoever. These allegations of other misconduct, it's going to be tough to say because he has no conditions. I would fully anticipate a bond being given. For there to be no bond, basically you have to say there are no conditions whatsoever that could assure that Mr. Busfield would appear. And remember, he's turned himself in as well. There's no condition that he would appear, that he is a danger to the community and a flight risk. Obviously, there are conditions that could be tailored by the court that could meet those conditions. So although the prosecutor got their way this time, I'd be surprised if the judge did not grant a bond for Mr. Busfield. Obviously, he's given the presumption of innocence. Next, the au pair trial continues, and it's getting a little spicy. So in the high-profile murder trial currently underway in Fairfax County, Virginia, prosecutors presented evidence alleging that Brendan Banfield, a 40-year-old former IRS special agent, altered the master bedroom of his home in the months following the February 2023 death of his wife, Christine Banfield, and another man, Joseph Ryan. According to testimony and exhibits introduced in court, Banfield is accused of relocating several items of red lingerie belonging to the family's former Brazilian au pair and his alleged romantic partner from her bedroom to Christina Banfield's closet. Now, this occurred at some point between the date of the killings in February of 2023 from when the au pair was arrested in October of 2023. Additionally, investigators reportedly discovered that photographs depicting Banfield with the au pair had been placed in the master bedroom, replacing earlier images of Banfield with his now late wife. One such piece of evidence included a framed photograph of Banfield and the au pair positioned on a nightstand documented during a police examination of the residence back in October of 2023. Guess it didn't take him long to get over the death of his wife. Fortunately, the au pair was there for his comfort and to get him through those difficult times. Anyway, these details emerged during Banfield's ongoing trial for aggravated murder in the death of Christina Banfield, who was fatally stabbed in the neck, and the death of Joseph Ryan, who was shot. Prosecutors contend that the killing stems from an elaborate scheme orchestrated by Banfield and the au pair, his extramarital partner since late 2022, to eliminate the wife and frame Ryan, who they allegedly lured to the home for a little fetish-oriented website action under a false pretense involving a staged sexual encounter. Well, the au pair, who pled guilty to involuntary manslaughter back in October of 2024 in connection with Ryan's death, has agreed and did cooperate and testify in the trial, which began obviously earlier this week. Now, she described the alleged plot and subsequent events. The defense has challenged aspects of her account, including recollection of details and prior communications. Now, Banfield, like I said, has pled not guilty to the charges, which carry a possible life sentence upon conviction. He also faces additional counts related to child abuse and neglect stemming from the presence of the couple's young daughter being home at the time of the incidents. Now, this case unfolded in the suburban area near Washington, D.C. A lot of attention due to the elements obviously involving the affair, the planning, the forensic evidence, the affair, and, the crime scene. And did I mention the affair? Yes, it gets hot and tawdry when it comes to these things. This is what people love, I guess. Anyway, the proceedings continue. We are bringing the proceedings to you live, so make sure you come check it out here on Crime Talk. Next on the docket, Luigi Mangoni's federal case is picking up steam. That's right, the federal case against Luigi Mangoni, the man who is accused of premeditated murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson on December 4th of 2024 in Midtown Manhattan, continues to advance through pretrial proceedings in the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York. Now, Mangoni faces 4 federal charges stemming from the incident, 2 counts of interstate stalking, one resulting in death, murder through the use of a firearm, and related firearm offenses involving the discharge of a firearm equipped with a silencer in furtherance of a crime of violence. Prosecutors, under the direction of United States Attorney General Pam Bondi, have announced their intent to seek the death penalty on the death-eligible counts. Mangoni has pled not guilty to all charges and is currently detained at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. Now, a significant pretrial motion hearing occurred on January 9th before U.S. District Court Judge Margaret Garnett. Now, during this proceeding, Mangoni's defense attorneys, which include privately retained counsel as well as a appointed death penalty counsel, presented argument on several key issues. The primary focus for the defense motion to dismiss 2 of the 4 counts, the murder through the use of a firearm, count 3, and the associated firearm offense, count 4. These counts form the basis of the death penalty eligibility, as they require proof that the killing occurred in furtherance of a crime of violence. Now, the defense contended that the underlying stalking charges do not qualify as a crime of violence under the applicable federal law, as well as Second Circuit case law precedent, rendering the death-eligible counts legally deficient. Prosecutors opposed that motion, arguing that the stalking conduct involved placing the victim in reasonable fear of death or serious bodily injury, which meets the statutory threshold. The judge did not issue a ruling at the hearing, describing the issue as complex and indicating that she would issue a written decision. The outcome of this motion is pivotal, obviously. If granted, it would remove the death penalty for Luigi Mangoni as a possible penalty, and the potential accelerate the trial schedule as well. If it's denied, the case would proceed as a capital case with additional constitutional challenges to the death penalty likely to follow. Now, the hearing also addressed the admissibility of evidence seized during Mangoni's arrest on December 9th of 2024 at that McDonald's where he was contacted in Altoona, Pennsylvania by police. The defense sought suppression of the items from Mangoni's backpack, including the firearm allegedly matching the murder weapon and a notebook containing several incriminating writings containing that the warrantless search violated the Fourth Amendment protection guaranteed to all under the Constitution. Now, although the judge initially indicated that an evidentiary hearing might not be necessary, she later reversed course. So on January 12th, the judge ordered a limited evidentiary hearing scheduled within the next 2 weeks, likely in obviously late January here, prior to the next status conference on January 30th. The hearing will focus narrowly on testimony from an Altoona Police Department officer regarding the department's standardized procedures in December of 2024 for securing, safeguarding, and inventorying personal property of the arrestees in public places. The inquiry aims to determine whether the seizure and initial search of the backpack complied with established protocols, potentially rendering the evidence inadmissible under exceptions such as the search incident to arrest or inventory search doctrines. Now, these proceedings represent obviously some critical juncture in the federal prosecution. The ruling on the motions to dismiss the death penalty counts and suppress evidence could substantially shape the case's trajectory, including trial timing. Tentatively eyeing a jury selection to begin in September of 2026. If the case is non-capital, and later 2026 or early 27, if it is a capital case, and the ultimate sentencing exposure is a possibility. Now, Mangoni separately faces state charges in New York, including second-degree murder and weapon offenses, following the dismissal of terrorism-related murder counts in September of 2025. So obviously some watershed moments that'll be coming soon as it relates to the Luigi Mangoni matter, and we'll see where things go with that. Next on the docket, federal authorities have finally got around and initiated an inquiry into the controversial death of Ellen Greenberg. Now, if you may not recall this case, we've talked about it several times over the years, but she died back in January of 2011 from multiple stab wounds. But it was ruled a suicide. And you should be shocked and appalled when you hear where the stab wounds were. So like I said, federal authorities have initiated an inquiry into the death of Ellen Greenberg. All right. And according to sources cited by the Philadelphia Inquirer, the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania has issued subpoenas requesting documents related to the original investigation and subsequent handling of the case. Now, these requests were reportedly sent in recent weeks with the focus centering on the conduct of various agencies involved rather than a direct re-examination of the manner of death itself. So Ellen Greenberg, this is where it gets interesting, was discovered in her apartment by her fiance, a guy by the name of Samuel Goldberg, on January 26 in 2011. She had sustained over 20 stab wounds, including injuries to her heart, the back of her neck, and other areas, along with bruises in various stages of healing. Initial scene investigations treated the death as a suicide, citing a locked apartment door from the inside and the absence of defensive wounds or signs of forced entry. The Philadelphia Medical Examiner's Office, under Dr. Marlon Osborne, first classified the death as a homicide following the autopsy. However, this determination was later changed to suicide amid disagreements with police findings. The case has drawn a lot of scrutiny from Greenberg's family, who have maintained that self-infliction of such extensive wounds, including a knife embedded in the heart, was simply implausible. They have pursued legal action alleging mishandling of evidence and investigative errors. And in prior years, the apartment was cleaned shortly after the incident, and certain electronic devices were removed by a relatives of Goldberg, the boyfriend, who held a prominent position in the state's judicial oversight body at the time. Now, a 2022 civil lawsuit by the family described the investigation as embarrassingly botched. And in 2024, the Pennsylvania Commonwealth Court heard the case while upholding the suicide classification due to legal constraints, acknowledged significant flaws in the probe's conduct by the Philadelphia Police Department, the district attorney's office, as well as the medical examiner's office. Now, the matter gained further attention through a Hulu documentary in late 2025, which highlighted aspects of Goldberg's 911 call and other details. A subsequent independent review by the city's chief medical examiner in October 2025 reaffirmed the suicide ruling, documenting additional bruises and wounds, but concluded that Greenberg was capable of inflicting them amid reported anxiety. Now, the current federal interest, as described by sources, appears to be directed at potential misconduct or corruption in how local and state entities, including the Philadelphia Police Department, Medical Examiner's Office, District Attorney's Office, the Law Department, and the Pennsylvania Attorney General's Office, managed the case over the intervening years. Now, the U.S. Attorney's Office declined to confirm or deny any investigation consists, because that's their policy, and representatives involved with the Philadelphia agencies have similarly refrained from commenting on the reported subpoenas. Now, an attorney for Greenberg's parents, Joshua and Sandra Greenberg, expressed strong support for the development, and he described the family as ecstatic and grateful for federal involvement, saying that it aligns with their longstanding pursuit of accountability and that they stand ready to assist. It'll be interesting to see where that goes. My guess is probably nowhere, certainly odd. You just don't hear of people stabbing themselves in the heart to commit suicide. Not exactly a common method to unalive yourself, that's for sure. Next, here's a story about a tragic outcome in a custody dispute. So Madeline Daly has been charged with first-degree murder and child abuse resulting in death in Grant County, New Mexico, stemming from the death of her 11-month-old son, Basil Stoner, also referred to in some records as Basil Daly. So on December 23rd of 2025, police allege that Daly shot the child as deputies attempted to resolve a standoff at a rural property near Silver City, where she had been residing in an RV. The incident concluded a prolonged custody conflict originated in Wyoming. Now, Daly and Basil's biological father, Jake Stoner of Kilgore, Nebraska, had been in a relationship until July of 2024. Following the child's birth on January 8th of 2025, disputes arose over Stoner's involvement in his son's life. Stoner pursued legal action in Wyoming and was eventually granted shared custody after a trial. However, Daly reportedly failed to appear at a scheduled hearing back in October of 2025, leading to an emergency temporary custody order in Stoner's favor. Then on November 19th of 2025, Stoner reported Basil missing after Daly allegedly fled with the child in violation of the court order, prompting a felony kidnapping warrant from the sheriff's office in Wyoming. The child was last seen in 10 Sleep area of Wyoming. So weeks later, Daly came to the attention of authorities in New Mexico when she applied for employment at a business near Silver City. The prospective employer conducted a background check, which identified the outstanding Wyoming warrant and notified local police. Grant County deputies located Daly on a rural property where she was renting accommodations. As officers approached to execute the warrant and recover the child, Daly barricaded herself in the RV with the child. Deputies attempted negotiations, including phone contact, to secure the child's safe release and avoid escalation. And a New Mexico State Police SWAT team assisted due to indications that Daly was armed. Now, during the standoff, a gunshot was heard, after which officers entered the RV. They found Basil suffering from a gunshot wound and Daly with a firearm pointed at herself. Despite immediate life-saving efforts by police and medical personnel, Basil, the child, succumbed to his injuries before he could be transported to the hospital. Following her arrest, Daly reportedly made statements to investigators indicated she acted to prevent Stoner from gaining custody, including claims that she was protecting the child and unsubstantiated assertions regarding risk from the father's family. She allegedly expressed regret only that she had not acted more quickly in other respects during the confrontation. Daly waived her preliminary hearing and has not entered a plea to the New Mexico charges. She also faces potential extradition to Wyoming for the kidnapping warrant that they were trying to execute on. And then on January 12th, a Grant County judge denied a defense request for pretrial release, ordering that Daly remain in custody without bond at the detention center, given the severity of the allegations and the potential risk of flight. Now, obviously, this is one of those sad cases, and it shows the complexities and dangers of contentious child custody disputes. Ladies and gentlemen, these type of cases just always shock me. And I heard it best from a judge once, and he was a single judge, never been married. And he was telling these people at a divorce hearing, I was waiting for a court appearance on another matter. And the judge says, if you guys can't get along, guess what? You're going to have a complete stranger, referring to the judge, make decisions as to what is in the best interest of the children if you two can't get along and decide for yourself. And it's shocking so many times that parents can't get along when they're talking about the best interest of the child. Anyway, sad situation all around, but hey, if that story doesn't get you down, how about this one for our Mother of the Year contestant? A Nebraska woman has been sentenced to 15 months in jail following her no contest plea to charges related to the exploitation of her teenage daughter in the distribution of controlled substances. That's known as drugs, ladies and gentlemen. Please meet Chantel Perkins, 36, of Stewart, Nebraska. She received this sentence as of January 12th in York County District Court. I had a plane that I made an emergency landing in York County, Nebraska once. Made it down safely, but all good. Had to go back and pick up my plane. Little, things happen. She pled no contest to an amended charge of attempted child abuse, which is a Class 3 or 3A felony. The original charges included using a minor to distribute controlled substances and possession of a controlled substance. Those were resolved through a plea agreement. The court records indicate, and there's investigative reports indicate, that Perkins compelled her minor daughter to deliver prescription medications such as Xanax, morphine, hydrocodone, and oxycodone to individuals in various locations across Nebraska and South Dakota. This activity reportedly occurred over several years, beginning as far back as 2018. The daughter disclosed to her therapist in May of 2025 that she had conducted at least 50 such delivery runs in communities including Benedict, York, and Seward in Nebraska. Let's not forget her runs in South Dakota. Anyway, police stated that the teenager received no compensation for these actions. Anyway, Perkins allegedly employed a combination of incentives and coercion to ensure compliance by her daughter, offering promises of gifts on some occasions while issuing threats of punishment or grounding on others. The investigation also uncovered reports of physical discipline, with the children describing instances of being whipped with a belt or coat hanger during arguments, as well as being physically restrained against the walls. Additionally, concerns included neglect, as the child frequently found Perkins unconscious after consuming pills, a condition she attributed to seizures. One child expressed fear of discovering their mother's deceased due to an overdose. All three children in Perkins' custody were removed and placed into protective custody following forensic interviews. Police noted prior law enforcement involvement dating back to as far back as 2022. A related defendant, a guy by the name of Terry Theckold, also of Nebraska, was involved in the case. Theckold pled no contest to child abuse and was sentenced to 90 days in jail and 3 years of probation. Amazing they let some people be parents, ladies and gentlemen, but anybody can be a parent. Next on the docket, this day in legal history, January 15th, 1912, Diaz versus the United States took place. The court addressed a defendant's right to be present and how that right can be waived through conduct. The decision is frequently cited in criminal proceedings where the presence or the waiver of the defendant, usually through misconduct. Yes, you have a right to be at all proceedings, unless, of course, you're misbehaving and you cannot control your conduct in court. The court can kick you out. This date in 1951, Finer v. New York. The Supreme Court issued its opinion on this date in a First Amendment case involving free speech and public order. The court issued a 6-3 decision and upheld the conviction of Irving Feiner for disorderly conduct after he made inflammatory speeches on a street corner that risked inciting a crowd to violence. The majority ruled that the police could intervene to prevent a clear and present danger of riot or breach of peace, even if the speech itself was protected. This case obviously illustrates the court's mid-20th century approach to balancing free expression against immediate threat to public safety. You can say what you want, you can't threaten people, and you can't breach the peace, ladies and gentlemen. You can't do that. January 15th, 1963, probably one of the most significant cases in American history. Oral argument was held in the case of Gideon v. Wainwright. Now, that case would recognize a constitutional right to appointed counsel for indigent defendants in serious state criminal prosecutions. It became one of the most consequential criminal procedure rulings in U.S. history. Now, think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, the Sixth Amendment right to counsel under the Constitution says that you're entitled to have an attorney. But up until that point, ladies and gentlemen, 1963, if you couldn't afford one, you were on your own. Imagine going through the rules of evidence, understanding the legal process when everybody was talking in legalese and you had no legal training or experience. That's right. So Mr. Gideon, from his cell in Florida at the time, filed a petition to the United States Supreme Court, handwritten petition to the United States Supreme Court saying, hey, I think I should be entitled to an attorney. So if you're indigent and you're in custody, you get an attorney. Significant legal ruling. Now remember, Sixth Amendment says you have a right to an attorney. It doesn't say you have a right to a free attorney. It's probably a good thing for somebody to have a right to an attorney when they're taking your liberty away. Now, obviously, you don't have a right to appointed counsel in civil cases. And next on the docket, our legal quote of the day comes from, well, right to counsel. Right? The right to counsel in the United States is explicitly guaranteed by the Sixth Amendment to the United States Constitution, which provides the foundation legal text on this particular matter. The exact language of the Sixth Amendment states, quote, in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and the cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. Now, this provision ensures that in criminal prosecutions, the accused has the right to the assistance of counsel. And the United States Supreme Court has interpreted this clause to require the appointment of counsel for indigent defendants in serious criminal cases. Obviously, Gideon v. Wainwright, 372 U.S. 335, 1963, just in case you want to go read it for yourself. Now, in that decision, the court emphasized the fundamental nature of the right, stating, quote, the right of one charged with crime to counsel may not be deemed fundamental and essential to fair trials in some countries, but it is in ours, end quote. And this constitutional guarantee, originally applicable to federal proceedings, was extended to state proceedings through the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. There's your legal education for the day, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you learned something. And next on the docket, our dumb criminal of the day. Let's go to Wood River, Illinois. In what may rank as one of the least strategic customer service inquiries on record, 38-year-old Seth Peter Kelly approached the Wood River Police Department with a grievance that quickly backfired. According to the department officials, Kelly contacted officers earlier this week to report dissatisfaction with a methamphetamine purchase that he had made 1 week prior. He described an adverse reaction following use and expressed conviction that he had been supplied with an incorrect substance. Determined to pursue legal recourse, he sought police assistance in analyzing the materials to confirm his suspicions and support charges against the seller. Needless to say, investigators, ever eager to accommodate such requests, extended an invitation to Kelly to deliver the suspected item for examination. He promptly complied, presented a crystalline substance encased in aluminum foil. A rapid field test yielded definitive results. The material was, yep, you guessed it, methamphetamine, precisely the compound Kelly had intended to acquire. Officers proceeded without delay to place Kelly under arrest for possession of methamphetamines. He was transported to the Madison County Jail, where he remains in custody on a $5,000 bond. Now, in a parting advisory laced with unmistakable irony, the Wood River Police Department emphasized its ongoing readiness to assist any individual who suspects impropriety in an illicit transaction. The statement obviously serves as a pointed reminder that such goodwill from police often comes with handcuffs attached. Now, the timeless lesson here, ladies and gentlemen, in criminal enterprise, when quality assurance is required, professional laboratories remained preferable than that of the local precinct. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you've been waiting for the whole show, it's time for the unboxing of the Battle Box. Now, as you will see, this is not a paid promotion. However, Battle Box, if you would like to send these to me every month at your expense instead of mine, I'd be more than happy to do so. As you can see, the box is sealed. I have no idea what is in the box itself. Like I said, it is sealed. So let's open this together and see what goodies have arrived today. Now, most people, let's see where this is the bottom here. Oh my gosh, we're going to have to get, all right. Well, fortunately for me, we've got the K-bar, or we could use the machete that we keep at the ready anytime here at the Crime Talk Studios. We'll probably just use the K-bar. Open this up. As you can see, we're breaking the seal here. Breaking the seal. Here we go. Like butter. Just slices open like butter. And let's see what we've got, ladies and gentlemen. You are seeing this for the first time, as am I. Let's take a look at what we've got here. Now, we've got the little booklet here, so I can give you a further explanation as to what has arrived. And just for the record, this is mission 131. First item in the box, Burning Mountain Fire Starters. Lets you set the tone for a perfect outdoor day like reliable fire. Burning Mountain Fire Starters ignite in 2 seconds and burns for a steady 8 minutes. Let me tell you, if you're in the woods and you're cold, it's tough to start fire on your own, ladies and gentlemen. So you got that. All right, let's see else what we got here. We've got this. This is a Wanderer hammock with straps. For true outdoor people, a hammock is more than a place to rest. It's a lifestyle. The Coldtree Wanderer hammock is made from tough parachute nylon, supports up to 660 pounds, and weighs just 24.6 ounces. Setup is fast thanks to the included daisy chain straps and carabiners, and the stuff sack doubles as a stash pocket. Hammock, ladies and gentlemen, breaks out into a hammock. Let's see, what do we have here? A ridge light. Let's see what this is here. Ridge light. I don't see that. Oh, nope, here it is. Here it is. Haven Ridge Light by Haven Tents. Lighting turns any campsite or hammock setup into a cozy base camp. Having ridge lights are compact, lightweight, and bright enough to transform your shelter into a warm, inviting space. Look, you can put it up there, probably put it on a hammock. Lights. Uzuma. Water storage. When you're out exploring, you don't leave hydration to chance. The Uzuma water storage system gives you flexible, lightweight containers made from BPA-free food-grade plastic. It folds when empty, barely adds any weight to your pack, and expands into a durable vessel. Water pouch there. All right, let's see. Let's move on here. Oh, this is a big one. Oh, what could possibly be in this large thing? Perhaps sharp objects? Let's take a look at this. Ooh, it's a Doug Marcadia knife, it appears to be. A battle spear. Let's see. This is designed by Doug Marcadia. This hybrid tool blends the reach of a machete with the authority of a spear. The 1065 carbon steel blade is ready for chopping, clearing, and heavy outdoor tasks, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this bad boy right here. Look at this. Now, I believe these are not mass produced. These are all made one at a time, I do believe. Anyway, let's check this bad boy out. Looks like we may have to add another knife to the Crime Talk table here, because you never know when you may need a spear. Got that. And then this is a Ruck and River waxed canvas bag. Ooh, okay. Every outdoor enthusiast needs a dependable bag, and this one is built for real mileage, made from rugged waxed canvas with leather straps and heavy-duty zipper. It handles dirt, weather, travel, and camp life with ease. The stretch bottle pocket and organized interior keeps everything where it should be. Take it to camp, load it in the truck, or use it every day. It's a classic workhorse made for people who live outside the lines. There you go. Let's see here. Let's see if we can get a better picture of this. One thing I don't need, and backpacks and baseball hats, but I kind of like it. This would be good. This is not bad. Something you can throw into Crime Talk 1 and keep it there. Yeah, I'm liking it. I'm liking this a lot. Let's take a quick look at the inside. Let's take a quick look at the inside here. Oh, like the way it kind of folds like that. Keeps it waterproof. Oh, yeah. Nice big and deep pack there. Yeah, with some pockets on the outside. Big and deep. Look at that. Not bad. Not bad at all. All right, ladies and gentlemen. You were there for the battle box. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you next time. And remember, the Constitution matters.